Welcome, Gemini, to your monthly horoscope for September for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Also, you can chat with me directly on Twitter. You're very welcome at Horoscope Ace, or please join Elisa and I for the daily astrology and tarot video show by seeing the link below. You can also grab your free daily written zodiac sign forecast. If you've yet to investigate your personal natal chart, you can download that for free by seeing the link below. Now, this month begins with the Sun and your ruler Mercury in the part of your horoscope to do with your home, your family, your emotions, your environment. Feeling comfortable in those is a very important factor for all of us. Now, on the 2nd of the month, there is a full moon, and that's in the opposite sign of Pisces, which, unlike the practical Virgo, is very moving and shifting and mutable. So this is saying that when it comes to your work and professional situation, that could call out to you in some kind of unexpected way in the following 2 weeks. You may have to be quite prepared to be flexible, and that could impact on the time you spend with your home situation, your family life, or just finding peace, rest and relaxation. And the reason that there could be some kind of electric energy around this is that Uranus, the planet of surprises, is locked away in your 12th solar house. If your nervous system has been feeling at times a little bit on edge since the middle of May 2018 to the middle of November 18, and from early March 2019 till now, it wouldn't be a surprise. But one of the best things we can do with long-standing planetary transits, and Uranus is going to be working its way through Taurus for about another 6 years, and therefore your 12th solar house of the subconscious, of what's hidden, of what's not quite so obvious. One of the best ways to deal with these long transits is actually to embrace them. So I think this full moon is kind of saying to you that if there is something that you need to realign around the balance between work and life, and you do need to flex and perhaps think outside the box, that can be something that actually is very good. But it may mean that something that's been quite set or fairly consistent will alter, and it's just being prepared to go with it. Now, because you're a mutable sign, you're much more equipped to deal with that than some people would be. So that's a very big positive. Now, also on the 5th, your ruler Mercury moves, and it moves into the wonderful sign of Libra, particularly for you, because this is the air triplicity, and for you it's the 5th house of joy, self-expression, and really using this opportunity through till the 26th of the month to be a bit more playful in your thinking. If you've got a keen sense of humour, and most Gemini people do, it's definitely going to be switched on more with that change. Also, the next day, Venus, the planet of love and affection, which has been in a fantastic location for you financially since the 7th of August, well, that moves into the sign of Leo. So that suggests that your words can have a much greater impact. Your personal expression takes on a more magical allure. And for the following week, Mercury and Venus forge a beautiful alliance. So if you want to ask somebody out or make an overture to someone around a business idea, your diplomacy, but also the mischievous side of your nature can also come out, despite this rather homing energy that's at the base of your sign, base of your situation, with the Sun's journey through the sign of Virgo. Now, there's a big event occurring on the 9th this month. Mars is in the part of your horoscope that is to do with friendships. But all this month it's going to be in conflict with Saturn, the planet of structure, limitation, obstacles, boundaries, the cool influence, and it's in a very psychological part of your situation. is there someone in your circle that's proving to be a bit clingy? Or has your appreciation of the people you're hanging out with actually altered a little bit since Mars moved into Aries? It wouldn't be a surprise if it does between now and the 6th of January, because this is such an extended transit. And of course, Mars is the planet of passion, and it's the planet of instant gratification, and therefore it's been a very counter enjoyable influence with COVID and the supposed rules that we're all adhering to. So Mars going into a retrograde for me, for you, suggests that through to the middle of November you could be rethinking some of your longer term ideas, but also some of your associations. Mars in the 11th house for you is asking you to be very true to yourself. If you're with people who can accept that you're individual, but then you come together with them in a loose collective in a way which everyone can be themselves, but you can still unite under some kind of construct whilst not losing one's individuality, you'll be absolutely fine. But if there is some kind of situation where there's some kind of leverage or some kind of rules that mean that you have to give away some of your independence and freedom, I think you could resist a forced intimacy, basically. It doesn't have to be a romantic one. It may be that someone's just coming inside your space too much, or it may be that just the type of people that you're interested in is altering. Also, with this posse of energy in the sign of Capricorn, your resources, but also your psychological investment, where you're most closely aligned with something, that's changing at a very profound level. I think you may have surprised yourself by how the inner changes are unfolding within you, particularly since Jupiter came into Capricorn at the end of last year, because Jupiter is very much about philosophies. Now, the great news is that Jupiter actually goes forwards on the 13th this month. So if there has been a bit of a push-pull, over longer-term finances, perhaps because of COVID, perhaps because you have your own business, and Venus may have brought some money in that glorious transit through Cancer, but there's something longer-term that's still required some delicate management. I think Jupiter going forwards is certainly a good news story, so that's delightful. Now, we do have a quarter moon which occurs on the 10th, and this occurs in your sign. So if your need to be individual is being kind of inhibited by home, emotional, family demands, maybe you're going to push back a little bit. Say it as it is, if so, good for you. Now, week 2 and 3, the Sun forges an awesome angle to first Jupiter and then Saturn and Pluto. Now, remember they're in the 8th house, which in a more prosaic way is about resources, business, investments, pensions, property, real estate. But in a more emotional or spiritual way, this is the sector of psychology. So with the Sun forging a very positive alliance across week 2, week 3 with those guys, something could shift in a helpful way, providing you're not too idealistic. And Mars in Aries could push you to be perhaps a little bit too hopeful in terms of your long-term situation. But I think for all of us at the moment, we have to kind of live with how things are, and that does require some trades. But generally, something can shift around your emotional, psychological welfare, or perhaps even where you live, in a positive way, as long as your expectations aren't too high and you don't try to rush the process, which is Mars's clash with Saturn, which will punish any kind of rash behaviour rather quickly. Now, on the 17th, we have a new moon, which will provide a backdrop of energy for the following 4 weeks, and that's going to be embracing that very positive structural energy of Saturn. Yes, Saturn can be very helpful sometimes, and in this situation, I just think it gives you a clear picture of the things you need to do for yourself at a more soul level, the Sun, but also a more practical level, Saturn, and that could include those finances. Now on the 22nd we have the autumn equinox. We're at the halfway point of the year, and this also sees the sun enter your sister air sign of Libra. So this gives you a great opportunity to move forwards from a period which has been more about your foundations and your environment into a much more flamboyant area. Now, of course, Mercury's been pushing you to be a bit more flamboyant and playful. Maybe if it's been allowed wherever you've lived, you've invited people around and played mine host. But I think that the sun moving into this area in the last phase of this month can create a more joyful, moving and fluid environment. It is true from the 13th to the 18th, however, there is a clash between Venus and also with Uranus. So again, not the best of times to try to push something too quick, but then sometimes even squares can create some kind of urgency or spontaneous situation that if we react quickly to Uranus energy, speed of light, then something could come your way to your advantage. Now on the 24th we do have a quarter moon which occurs in the sign of Capricorn, but that's linking in a square to the sun in Libra. So for you this is very much about the 5th house energy clashing with the 8th house energy. And again, it could be, is someone being a bit too cloying, not giving you enough space to breathe, or are you actually feeling some deeper emotions, perhaps around possessiveness and jealousy, which in the past may have been an anathema to you, but you may be surprised that these could come up. The 27th also sees Mercury, your ruler, move deep into Scorpio. But for you, this is very much about practicality. So if you've got any canny business instincts, they will certainly be available to be tapped in the following 21 days. Do tune into them. The 29th is a day we're all going to celebrate because Saturn ends a long retrograde. Saturn in your 8th house, I really do feel it may have been punishing at times over the last couple of years. Of course, it had that brief sojourn from the 22nd of March to the 2nd of July in your sister air sign of Aquarius, going back there on the 17th of December this year, and that's something you're going to really welcome. But I think generally, perhaps an income stream that you used to have has dried up, changed. There's been some kind of alteration. Perhaps it's your connection to others that's shifting. Perhaps you've had to be more self-reliant, more independent, or perhaps because of COVID, a relationship with a financial institution has changed. For many of us, this is going to be quite a collective thing, and of course, in some ways, or in a lot of ways, Pluto is a generational planet. So going through this Capricornian transit, which will end initially in 23 briefly, before finally in 24, and Pluto moves into Aquarius, which generally for all air signs is going to be something to look forwards to. Of course, it does depend exactly on your natal horoscope, the precise impact on your situation. But I think Saturn come into the end of its retrograde this month, Jupiter come into the end of its retrograde, are both things to really feel positive about. And Venus, of course, does give you that dividend in the first week of this month. Potentially some short-term money can come in and you could want to celebrate and have a lovely lunch or treat yourself to something lush, and why not if you do. So that's the story of this month, Gemini. It's a month when Mars's clash with Saturn is interesting. Mars in the 11th house is encouraging you to be individualistic, but also cooperative at the same time. But if there are those deep ties which in some way are really stopping you breathing, then Mars perhaps is asking you to be a strong and maybe cut some, especially as it goes into retrograde on the 9th. But there is potential to make the security, the basis of your situation, that much better this month. And I think finances could ease by the end of the month in a very positive way for you. Now, if you would like to ascend above your star sign and experience real astrology and have never done that before, please check out my affordable range of astrology reports below. You can get a year's forecast based on your time, date and place of birth, totally unique to you, and a character analysis for 30% off, or you can choose to have a one-to-one personal consultation with me. Please see my testimonials below. But for now, take care, stay safe, and good luck.